It's naturally ruffled up.
Yeah, that's kind of the look that I go for. Completely.
I keep mine the way it is. I like mine just a little easy comb over and a little part in my hair right here. Call it a day. It's easy for
Yeah,
me. But you rock it. You rock it
I,
over there with
I
your
rock. I
your your
rock the.
your flow. Let's see Josh real quick. I want to see that flow on the top.
I
See how it all just
appreciate
like
it.
flows real nice. I
My
don't
boy
get that.
really
I
put
don't get
them.
that flow.
My boy really put the mouse cursor on my hair.
Well, we got to point out what's so great about you. I mean, it's not just the hair. But
What happened?
I was trying to exit out the little thing at the top. I wasn't trying. That's funny.
Nah, it's all good. It's all
listen,
good. It was good
at the end
timing.
of the
But
day, you got to point out that hair.
man,
It's fucking
I'm
great.
gonna.
Excuse my French, but that was
I'm
probably
not
the
gonna
most
lie to you. When
vulgar term I used on
I'm
this
not
episode,
wearing headphones, this
on this
part kind.
show.
We were talking at the same time. My fault. But when I'm not wearing headphones, this part kind of starts to go that way a little bit. That's when I need to cut. But the top, I'm happy with, and I appreciate your appreciation.
Well, I've seen the evolution of your hair from the age of 14 up until the age of 30, and I can say at the age of 30, it looks the best.
Well, I appreciate it. I didn't. I feel like I went from buzz cut to having a stupid ass beard to having a better beard to like having a flow. And you've always looked like you walked out the barber everywhere you go. Even when we're playing ball, even when like whatever. No matter what, no matter if you're like if you busted your ass for 2 hours playing ball and you're dripping sweat and whatever, your hair always looks like it's like if you told me this man had a toupee, I'd believe it because of how clean it looks and how consistent it
You're
looks.
making me blush over here, and that's the last thing I need to do right now, especially as we're gonna record this episode. But my cheeks are getting all red,
I can see it.
you talking my language here. When someone compliments my hair, love it, love it. So thank you for that. And
Ladies, can you believe he's single? I can't.
this guy's gonna be a matchmaker for me. I can tell you that right now. If there's anybody in this world that's gonna set me up, it's that guy on that other side of the
I'm
screen
here
right
for it.
there. Listen, it's a crazy, crazy time. I'll tell you right now. South Florida, insane. I don't know if you see the props behind me, but something happened in the hockey world. Not sure if people know, but the Florida Panthers, they won the Stanley Cup back to back years. So we got to congratulate them. South
I'm
Florida
not
is going to
gonna
be a party over this weekend. It's going to be
I'm
absolutely
not gonna lie to
insane.
you. The only reason I'm upset about it is because my goal scorer props, like Sam Reinhart, was mad selfish. He couldn't let anyone else score, so I can make some money on it to pay for your Beyond the Score shirt. But we'll be getting that going.
Well, I was just going to say, I'm glad you brought it up because I was actually about to bring it up. I'm excited for that shirt. And listen, I'm not going to be picky. You can pick whichever shirt you think will look great with this hairstyle of mine that you just
I don't have to
complimented
buy
me
them
on.
all.
Oh, boy. Well, listen, you pick the best one. Pick the best one out of the
All right,
bunch.
I got you.
And I'll be rocking it the next time when it comes in. I'll bring it on the episode, and I'll thank you very much for that very nice bet that we did. And at the end of the day, I think it's safe to say that the team that from top to bottom that was better won. The
Yeah,
balance in Florida from player 1 to player 15 much better than it was on Edmonton, who's a little bit more top
where'd you
heavy.
get 15 from?
What do you want me to say? 16?
No, I don't know the number off the top of my head. I just feel like I don't know. I
18?
feel like it's more.
You feel like
I'm
it's
not
more?
trying. I'm not trying to give you an exact number. Like I don't know. Go on.
Regardless of the fact, Florida Panthers from top to bottom were the better team, and that's the reason why they won. Because anytime they made switches, they were still being just as aggressive as they were with their first starting five, and so it showed. And that was the biggest flaw for Edmonton. They couldn't keep up. I mean, that series was 2-2, and at that point, when it was 2-2, I think that a lot of people thought this is anybody's series, right? Especially considering Edmonton had home ice. 2 games at least would be played there if they were able to win. And once they lost in Edmonton, at that point, I think the
Yeah, everyone felt it.
it started shifting towards South Florida, which ultimately ended up winning that game in South Florida in Game 6 quite
You know they're
easily.
the Florida Panthers, right?
Yes, but
You're just proud.
South Florida is where they play, and at the end of the day, Tampa is in Florida too, and they're in North Florida, so we
When's the
can't.
parade?
When's the parade? That's a good question. I think probably Tuesday is the parade. Now, they're already celebrating down in East Fort Lauderdale. What they typically do is they'll go to the Elbow Room and this is what they did last year at least. So it's not that typical, but from what
Shout
we're
out Elbow
understanding,
Room.
they're going to be going back there this year. Take the Stanley Cup. It's a 2-level bar, and last year what they did was I forgot who it was. It might have been Sam Reinhart, who had the Stanley Cup full of beer
Samson.
and was just pouring it down on the other players, and everyone was just getting beer waterfall on them. It's pretty fun to see. It's a show. It's going to be absolutely insane over there. You're going to see a lot of Panthers players celebrating as they should. They're back. A lot of them are back-to-back champions. Not an easy thing to do in sports. So we saw the Tampa Bay Lightning did it a couple of years ago. But besides that, in the 4 major sports in the United States, we haven't seen that since the 90s, and we know who did that then. So this is a huge accomplishment. I saw another stat where they led historically was the most minutes that they led in this series. So as much as, we thought it was going to be
that geared up just like that too, that at the end of all the 18 regulation periods, the Oilers were only leading after 1.
honestly, it's a similar stat, I feel like, with another sport where
That's what reminded me to it.
So when you look at that, it shows more of a lopsided. Even though Edmonton got 2 games, it was 2-2 at one point. When you see that type of stat, it shows a clear dominance from one side of the ice, and Florida really they owned that series. It felt like, especially in the games that they won easily, which was Game 6 and it was Game 3, I believe, where they took those games without even having to worry about Edmonton in those games. Versus the other games, which were absolutely insane games. We had 2 overtime wins for Edmonton, which came off of Leon Draisaitl's goals. And we had, I believe it was Game 2, was a close game as well. But ultimately that went to Florida, and that was one of the deciding factors on them winning that series, was taking Game 1 in Edmonton. That was huge.
Yeah, that was
And so when they took that game, that kind of set the tone, right? Advantage is supposed to be for Edmonton, who has the home ice. But that quickly went out the window as soon as Edmonton took Game 1. So at that point, it felt like Florida has the momentum, and they kind of held it, even though, yes, it was 2-2. It felt like they were the team that were controlling that ice, even in that Game 4 where they lost in overtime and Draisaitl hit that insane goal. We saw what was happening in overtime. The pressure was coming all from Edmonton. And so
I do think that my fault. Keep going.
No, the only thing I really wanted to say was it just seemed inevitable that after seeing these things and kind of clearly being able to break it down, Florida was just the superior team out of the 2.
Yeah, totally. And I'm not 100% sure who the GM of the Panthers is, but I think that his move of bringing in Marchand won them the cup, because there were moments where it felt like it was kind of on I guess you could say on thin ice, no pun intended, and like it was like a moment where the next person to score kind of feels like will ride the momentum. And every time it felt like that, and Marchand scored.
So just to clarify, Bill Zito is the GM of the Panthers, and I 100% agree, and I think probably most of Panthers fans will agree that that move was needed for this team. It kind of, got them from being a lackluster team that will make the playoffs, but not sure if they're going to actually be able to repeat, to a team that's seriously the best team now in hockey. And that's what ended up happening. And that move put them in that position and ultimately ended up getting them that cup. I mean, they did not have an easy path. The Carolina Hurricanes were a tough team to beat in that round
they're
before.
The favorites next year. I don't get it, but they're the favorites next year.
Nothing really makes sense when it's not only just hockey, but when you look at odd makers and the way that they look at things, it's very different than ways analysts look at things, and why teams need to be favorites depending on what they did last year, or we haven't had an offseason yet. We don't know what the moves are going to be made. Now, I think Florida's in a predicament, I think, with their salary and how they're going to bring back some of these guys and extend some of these guys, but that's something to be seen. I think ultimately they're still going to be a good team, maybe not supposed to be the favorites, but it's considerable to say that they're going to be back there probably next season, at least threatening to make it a three-peat. So kudos to
we
the
said
team.
that last year too, though. We weren't sure if they'd be able to bring Reinhardt back and all these moves. I'm pretty sure we had a conversation on air about that, and looks like it worked out.
Well, listen, at the end of the day, it also has to do with the players. What is their vision? Do they want to come back and stick their legacy where it is? And we know in hockey that's more important than it is in any other sport. These guys are more loyal than any other sport. Maybe baseball, but even now I think in 2025, loyalty for baseball is starting to go out the window, and we saw that with Rafael Devers and how that was handled. Actually, Josh, there you go. That's what it was. That's what it was.
a nice little segue if you want to go into it. I
Quick
mean,
little thing I want to tell everybody. We were talking about what we wanted to discuss, and I was telling Josh, I was like, there's something baseball I wanted to get off, but I couldn't think of what it was. And it was the fact that Rafael Devers is no longer a Boston Red Sox. So we'll finish off the Panthers by saying congratulations,
yes.
well deserved, best team in hockey, and hopefully for South Florida's sake, we'll see you back there next year. Even though I'm an Islanders fan and I will always be an Islanders fan, it's nice to have a team where you're living actually be good enough to play these high volume games. And so that's what we saw. And Edmonton, kudos to you guys too. Very difficult thing to get back there 2 years in a row as well. And Connor McDavid is, sorry for the shade, but is the reason why you guys didn't win. He just wasn't there.
To put it in terms that are the Panthers' game plan on him and stifling him is more because he got a couple goals, couple points, but I think overall just the game plan of the Florida Panthers and the clutch gene of Brad Marchand was just too much. And Leon scored a couple goals this time, but still wasn't good enough.
So what does that do to his legacy? I want to talk about this real quick because you made a very good point. They contained him, which they did very well. But safe to say that Connor McDavid's the best player on that ice between both teams?
Yeah, I mean, but it just goes to show you. I mean, you can have the best player. I mean, I'm pretty sure not this year, but last year, Austin Matthews was a 60-goal player, but the Leafs were bounced in the first round. So the hockey's really you need to have guys who have all of the skills. And of course, no one's gonna say they don't want Austin Matthews on their team. No one's gonna say they don't want Connor McDavid on their team. But when it comes down to it, you need the chemistry, you need the cohesion, you need the belief that we could actually do this thing. And it kind of seemed like as game 5 went on, the belief that they could actually do this thing kind of disappeared. And then game 6, you saw them just get absolutely.
I don't want to drift off from the point that I was trying to
Yeah.
make here. The fact is that he was the best player. Nobody's going to say that they don't want those two types, Austin Matthews or Connor McDavid. They're both great players, but it'll
Yeah.
affect their value when in the highest level of hockey, they're being contained at a level that is essentially hurting their team more than helping their team. Because maybe you could say, yes, he's a distraction and they got to put a lot of emphasis on him and opens up some of the ice for the other players, but it didn't do enough for them to force even a game 7, let alone win that series. Now you go to basketball. SGA is the best player on both sides, right? Pacers can do a lot to contain him because they're a very good team, but they can't stop him. And he's still putting up 25 a game. And I know it's a different sport. It's completely different where it's hard to compare. It's like apples and oranges. But what I'm trying to say is the greatness that we're trying to evaluate here on these hockey players that are elite, that we're saying that they're elite. If at the highest level you're not able to step up, that's going to affect your next contract until you're able to prove that you're able, in the biggest stage, you're able to get it done. 2 years in a row. Last year, Connor McDavid was great, but this year, nobody's going to remember last year. People are going to remember this year, and they're going to remember how in the Stanley Cup Finals, he was contained to a level where he added basically no value to his team.
I think you could even take it a step further where it'll make teams think twice before. I know the money's not like it is in the other sports, but with the cap, when the cap goes up, it'll make them
It's all
think twice
relative.
it'll make them think twice about giving a truly maximum. I don't know the exact numbers, but there's a certain percentage of the cap that one player could have, and just seeing McDavid twice now and just seeing other big time players not even making it that far might make a team think twice um about paying that guy when in reality you can get a good system and belief. And I just think overall um it's a really tough situation because obviously they're not going to trade Connor McDavid. You have a guy like that, you want to build around him, but you're going to keep trying to plug the pieces. Of course, both teams had a short list, 70 guys that weren't on the team last year that were this year, and same result. So now you wonder if they're going to build a team that's built to beat Florida, and then maybe in the regular season they might have a tough time against teams that they might have dominated in the past. It's such a fascinating thought process. And for our hockey fans out there, I'd like to know if you were the GM of the Oilers, what is your mindset going into 25, 26? I feel like I'd love to hear what some people have to say about um, what the Oilers GM does, because I don't think the Oilers GM did a bad job getting to the Stanley Cup twice in a row. But do you focus on Florida and focus on beating them and maybe leave some other things in the past, or do you just continue to try and let some lower line pieces go and try and replace them again and see if it works?
I
And
think
I want to know what you think too.
your focus is going to be on re-signing Connor McDavid because he's a free agent after next year. So that's what you're trying to do here is evaluate whether or not your best
Oh yeah.
player is going to deserve a certain level of contract. Now, I want to ask you and also the fans out there, especially a lot of our new fans out there. We've gotten a lot of new followers, so thank you very much for checking us out on social media. I'm sorry for my speech impediment over here. I wanted to ask you guys, what are the chances we see both of these teams back in the finals next year? And I want to ask you that too, Josh. Give me a percentage. What are we thinking here?
I'd say Florida's more likely than Edmonton, because I think that Edmonton was exposed, and now every team in Florida's division is going to look to exploit those weaknesses, and every team in the East, I mean in the West, is going to look to exploit those weaknesses. Whereas Florida, you just learned how solid they are, and I don't know if Marchand has another year, but that's a really important piece. But I kind of veered from the question again, but overall, I think that wait, repeat the question.
What are the
Again.
put a percentage on the repeat a third time for both of these teams to make it to the
Oh,
finals?
10%.
Okay, that's actually higher than I thought. I would have thought it was in the single digits, but if it happens, that'd be very interesting to see. And I think there would be a lot more aggression because another point I wanted to make was, and we will wrap up this. We actually had a
Yep.
comment on one of our posts where I made a comment on last episode saying that this is a rivalry between two countries, and the point that one of our viewers made was that. Why is this a rivalry between two countries when you have players on both sides that are from the other country, right? It's a good point to make. Now, you have to look at this from the front office standpoint other than the players and for the organizational standpoint. Edmonton is Canada, Florida is US. That's the way they look at it. When they get to that stage, there's a rivalry between that point of pride. And for these two teams, at the end of the day, whether you're a Canadian playing on an American team or an American playing on a Canadian team, when you're playing for that team, there's still that ounce of rivalry, right? And we see that even in so many of the Olympics where you might be born in one country, but now you live in another country and you've been there for a very long time, and now you consider yourself part of that country because you've lived there for most of the time. You might not have been born there. And so there is that rivalry between the two. It's just the way it is. Hockey is one of those sports. We have it in basketball too, a few years ago when the Raptors made it to the finals. So there is that level of intensified rivalry when you do have those two countries. Now, the pride that you have as a player should never change. I mean, when you're in that stage of the finals, you are supposed to be playing the best. That's why you're there, right? But that added level of intensity is for the crowd, it's for the fans, the front office, the organizations themselves, because they're hubbed in these two cities, in these two countries. So that's where the emphasis comes with the rivalry between the two nations.
I want to put something out there too, that it's more about the fans than about the actual teams, and the fan bases just get behind their teams fully, and then as teams start to drop off, the it seems like the area around the team grows a little bit locally. And then when you have Canada versus US, where the teams are from there, generally the Canadian people are going to support the Canadian team, and the American people are going to support the American team, and some people are just going to watch because they like ball or puck or whatever you want to say. But in reality, when it comes down to it, um I think that there are players on both teams that are from neither country, and they just love the community that's accepted them, that's rode the wave, that's given them the support to get to this point. So I think they're not really thinking outside of their communities, but the fans are the area around generally gets bigger as the teams in certain areas get eliminated, and if people are following along, you tend to pick a side. Whereas if you're watching impartially, you can enjoy it. But if it's a whole series, it's more often than not, from what I've seen, just general. I don't even want to say human nature, like sports fan nature, to just lean one way, whether you like a player's story on one team, or if you don't really have a reason, then you say, okay, I'm American. This team is from America. That's pretty dope. Let's see if we could have a parade in America for a hockey championship.
Speaking
You know
of
what I mean?
one of these players, Sam Bennett winning the Conn Smythe Trophy, he's a Canadian playing for the Panthers. Winning that trophy means you put your all out there. And so he did that, and he won that award. So congratulations to him as well on winning that. Great player all around for those Florida Panthers. He's a pivotal part of that organization. It's clear to say, especially winning this trophy, it means a lot. And so he's Canadian. He plays for an American team, and he wins this trophy. It kind of seals the deal on that statement right there.
I do want to put one thing out there to close out hockey, that if they can get out from Arvidsson and Evander Kane's contracts, I think that the Oilers could be a sneaky team to make a run at Mitch Marner and try and be a team that can create more offense with Marner as well as McDavid running two different lines. And I think that could be something really special and a way to prepare for next year without completely tearing down your style.
Well, we name dropped somebody earlier today in this episode, and that's something that we probably should discuss since it was a big trade that happened in baseball. Rafi Devers, bye-bye. He's out of the AL East, and he's now playing for the San Francisco Giants. As a Yankee fan, I'm very happy. Good riddance. See you later. And as someone who knows sports, I'm not very surprised. I don't think you are either, considering where he was with that organization at this point. It was something that was a very toxic relationship that I think needed to come to an end. And it did, finally. And I think everyone's better off in this situation, considering San Francisco is going to eat all that money, which I don't think Boston should have had to have eaten any of that money anyways. He's still an incredible player in his prime, and considering where some of these salaries are for some of these players, it's not that bad. And now, he's going to thrive in that San Francisco lineup where they could really use that 1A hitter, and that's what he does for them. Boston sheds off that salary. They could help build, get a couple of arms. One of them they sent down right away, Kyle Harrison. They got San Francisco's top prospect. And this is a fresh start for them too. I mean, you know how I feel about those Red Sox. I couldn't care less about them. But from a standpoint of looking at from an organizational move, this made sense. When you have a player that's not willing to comply with what you're asking them to do, when you've given them over $300 million, you have to get rid of them. And that's what they essentially did. And not only did they get rid of him, they sent him to the furthest place they possibly could have. Different division, different league, completely on the other side of the country. They said, see you later, Rafi. And Yankee fans were all waving too, like, goodbye, so long. Don't mind if you go do well over there, but thank God you're out of the AL East.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at it, when you sign a contract and you're told you're going to be the third baseman, the third baseman for the next 10 years of the Boston Red Sox, and then a new regime comes in and tells you we're going to do things a little differently, it's a really slippery slope, because that flag is planted and you are the Boston Red Sox. I mean, regardless of the trade for Crochet, where he's probably a better player, if not the same level of caliber. I think that there's a certain level of respect that you need to understand that a guy commands, but at the same time, I'm with you that if the team says they're going to give you all this money, you go stand on top of the monster if they're going to ask you to. Like, you're there playing baseball. You earned every dollar of that contract, but if they think they have a better option in the field, there's no reason why there should be any pushback. And if you're uncomfortable with that, then this is the result. And maybe it's something that's perfectly okay with him, because definitely I've seen a lot of things come out about the toxic nature of the locker room, and not the locker room, of the front office, and certain things, and you don't really know what you can believe. But when it comes down to it, Rafael Devers, we've seen it better than anybody, is a superstar in this league. And Boston did what they do best and develop good players and then trade them out west.
Well, it's a double-edged sword, right? You want compliance, but at the same time, you want to command respect. Respect is earned, And I think he's earned that respect. But that's not when it comes to where you want to play. Now, if Rafael Devers was this Gold Glove caliber third baseman that should never have been considered to play another position, I get it. Here's a couple of things, though. In 2025, players are starting to play multiple positions. We have Ben Rice, for Christ's sakes, about to catch tonight, right? And he's done it before, but that's like his third position that he plays, right? You could even stick him in right field if you need to before you put him in catcher, but since the Yankees have a plethora of outfielders, it's not needed. Second is the fact that when you're playing for the Red Sox in that type of organization, you have to understand that the organization speaks volumes. When they ask you to make this move, it's for the better of the team. Now, they asked him to be a DH, which basically means don't play the field. Just hit. You're basically doing half the work if you think about it. You're not out there for most of the time. You're playing 4 at-bats a game, similar to Giancarlo, right? He said no, and then he thought about it, probably came to realization that it makes sense, just do it. And then a couple weeks ago, they said, we might need to try you out at first base. And that was what essentially catapulted everything and turned it into this problem for that organization and that specific player.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he minds this trade at all, considering the fact where Boston is in the division and where San Francisco is in that division and what he'll bring to that San Francisco team that was good before he got there. So I think, this should help motivation-wise. But going back to things, he is a one-position player. He plays third base, and then what happens when you're in your mid-30s and now you're really a liability out there? The San Francisco Giants are going to stick you at third base. I can tell you that. They're going to say, we need you as a DH. Or
well, let me ask you this layer of it that it fits right in here where you say they're not going to stick you at third base. They have a platinum glove winner at third base. So I'm curious, do you think that he's going to be on the move, or do you think that in talking to Devers, that they think that he will understand, or do you think they're really just paying $30 million for a DH?
We're talking about two big-time clubs, the Boston Red Sox and the San Francisco Giants. Ton of history, goes back a long time. Matt Chapman, I believe, is currently on the IL, correct? Am I wrong in that? Yes. So it gives them the ability to be able to put him there for right now and then figure out what to do afterwards.
Yeah.
The truth is the San Francisco Giants are not going to have this conversation with him. He's going to play DH, right? If he doesn't want to play DH, then you could sit on the bench, or they could figure out a way to suspend you because your conduct detrimental to the team. I mean, we can go down these crazy routes that teams could take if they start realizing these players don't want to comply with them anymore.
Yeah.
The truth is, Giancarlo Stanton's getting paid $30+ million a year to be a DH. When he got that contract, they knew, okay, he'll be in right field for a few years of this contract. He's on a 13-year deal, right? First 5 years of that, he'll play right field. He's got a good arm. He's not a terrible right fielder, but he's also not very mobile too. So comes and goes, right? And obviously that comes with the age. So it came to a point where, okay, now it makes sense. I mean, especially in New York when you have Aaron Judge, you're the full-time designated hitter.
Right.
You don't hear him crying about it. And we're obviously talking about two individuals with two completely different personalities. They're two completely different players. But you have to do what's best for the team. I mean, what else is the point? You've already got the money.
Yeah.
You've already got the job. You're locked in. All you need to do now is have the mindset of, I want to be a winner. I want to help this team get to whatever the case is. And we see that with Jazz, and we see that with some of these other guys. I want to do whatever is best for the team.
Yeah.
What's the point of doing what's best for you at this point? Right? You've gotten the contract. You're a great player. You're not very good defensively. So doesn't it make sense logically to say, okay, I understand. I'm not that great defensively. I'll make the adjustment. Maybe I want to keep playing defense. I'll work to play first base or maybe the outfield. I'll play right field. And in the middle, I'm just saying, and this is not only Rafi, I'm saying like any player who's a one defensive player tool, they should have this mindset, right? Like, I want to be better for the team. Giancarlo really couldn't do that. He said, okay, I'll play some left field. Didn't really work out. So now he's like, okay, I'm a DH.
And with Giancarlo, you know that the only time he ever said something about it, he just said he likes when he's in the field, he feels like he's a more of a part of the game.
Fine. That's fine.
That's a fine quote. It's not a holdout. It's not anything like that. And I think that if that's the case, then they'll try to stick him out there when they can. But in reality, you have one of the hardest. You hit the ball one of the hardest of anyone in the league, and we value that enough to pay you this much just to hit and field on desperate occasion. And I really think the line is drawn there where Devers, if you're really struggling with this fact, then maybe you'll get a couple starts a week at third base over there, and Matt Chapman will be the third baseman, like you were saying. I was just curious what your opinion on it was. If you were going to say this is Rafael Devers, whatever he wants, but I'm pleased with the stance that you took with feeling the same way.
I mean, Matt Chapman could also play first base too if you need him to, right? Now, does that make sense?
No.
No, because you're still going to need a third baseman that's going to play the third base very, very high caliber. Is my phone ringing? I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, Evan. I'll break it to him later why I couldn't pick up. But you got to do what's better for the team. I mean, listen, this is going to be a new horizon for Rafael Devers. He's on a different team, different ballpark. He's going to have to adjust to hitting there. Now he looked pretty comfortable in that first game where he hit that RBI double. And I think he's going to hit a lot of doubles over there because of being a left-handed hitter with that big of a ballpark. You know, maybe the home runs drop, but the doubles increase. He's still got a ton of power. He's still going to hit some home runs. So I'm just, like I said, I'm glad he's out of the division. But for Red Sox fans out there, as much as I really don't like you, I want you guys to view this show. I could say a lot worse things, but you'd say probably worse things back to me as a Yankee fan. I get it. But consider this. This was the best thing for your organization. For the growth of your young players that are going to be developed over the next year, forget about this year. You're done. It's not happening. You might as well plummet for the sake of plummeting, right? You're not going to be a good team this year. It's out of there. You guys already know that. You built for the future. And you have those young guys who are going to be the pivotal pieces for the long-term future of the Boston Red Sox. And I believe some of those guys are very talented players. I'm hoping they don't crush us, but I see the picture that Boston's trying to paint, and they have a good future ahead of them.
And the Yankees have broken their scoreless streak with a Jazz Chisholm home run.
Yeah, you brought that up. I didn't want to. So
we'll leave it
at that. We'll leave it at that. I do want to give some props to Cal Raleigh, though. I mean, this guy is raking this year, and he is going to be a free agent too. So this guy's about to get paid. Well deserved. I mean, listen, this is what happens, right? You have a career, and then when the time comes to get that payday, you put it all out there. And he's doing that. And he is by far the best hitter on Seattle. We shouldn't be saying that when you have someone like Julio Rodriguez on that team, but it's Cal Raleigh right now. He's mashing those baseballs. I think he has 27. He hit a 27th home run last night, a grand slam. Like, this guy is
Walker Buehler.
This guy is legitimate, right? Sniff, Walker Buehler, sniff. Okay, Cal Raleigh. I, as a Yankee fan, hope that maybe next season they are like, we could open up the checkbooks for this guy. Now I know we have Austin Wells, but it's going to be a situation where what makes the most sense, right? Paul Goldschmidt's on a 1-year deal.
Before you get too into it, I'm going to correct you that on March 25th of 2025, he signed a 6-year, $105 million contract with Seattle. So while as much as I would love to have him, that's not going to happen.
Oh, so he's locked up there. Well, it's good to see for Seattle though that they locked him up and then he's starting to rake. So it's a good problem to have. It's not a problem at all. You're just paying the guy a lot of money, but it's well deserved. The guy's $105 million over 6 years is $18 million a year. Is that my math right? Close in that range, whatever it is.
17.5, yeah.
17.5.
2031, there's a $20 million option as long as he plays 100 games as catcher in the first 4 years of the deal. So 26, 27, 28, and 29. if he plays 100 games at catcher, which seems very doable,
As long as he can stay healthy.
he'll be a Mariner in 2031 as well.
He'll go down as one of the greatest Mariners then at that point. I mean, especially at that position, catcher. You know, we've seen these bats not be the greatest coming from, you know, behind the plate. They've been better of late over the last couple of years, but we had a few years where it was very, very difficult to find a catcher that could actually hit the ball really well. You had like Will Smith, JT Realmuto, and that was really it for like 3 years. And now you're starting to get some of these guys. I mean, even like Austin Wells, who's got like 48 RBIs this season, right? I mean, he's hitting situationally really well. So you got some, and then Cal Raleigh, and you got some of these other guys like Drake Baldwin in Atlanta. He's starting to rake too over there too. So you got some of these guys that are stepping up behind the plate and are producing big time for their offense, you know, for these clubs. And so you put a lot of value on the catcher, right? Because what they do is probably the most difficult thing other than a pitcher defensively, is sitting behind the plate and essentially put the signs down, call the game the way it's supposed to be called, and play, and, you know, do what catchers do. I'd have to say top 3 most difficult position to play in all of sports.
Yeah, we had this whole thing with a question from Matt where we said that it definitely, we both agreed that it definitely was. And one thing I wanted to say about Cal is actually 2 things. Is that this would already be his 3rd highest WAR season, and it's June 18th. He was 3.4 in 23, and then 24 and 22 he was higher, and he was a Platinum Glove winner last year. So it's not like this guy's just they're throwing him behind the plate for his bat. He's a legitimate catcher who caught the starting rotation with the lowest ERA in baseball last year.
That's a really good point that you bring up there too, because that actually slipped my mind. He's incredible defensively, and incredible is an understatement because he was the best defensive player in the American League last season.
Yeah.
And like you said, with that rotation that was out there last season in Seattle, the offense was the problem there in Seattle last season. That was the reason why they couldn't, you know, make a run. But that shows you that with what he's able to do with the starting pitchers and all pitchers really on his team is elevate them and call the game the way it needs to be called. He knows the strengths and the weaknesses of his pitchers, and he knows what the matchups are looking like and what needs to be thrown in those situations. That's the reason that he got that Platinum Glove, and that's the reason why he got that 6-year extension for $105 million. It wasn't because he's this amazing bat last season. I mean, he had some pop, didn't hit for a high batting average, never had an incredibly high OPS in the, you know, mid to high 700s. But then this season, he's figured it out, and that's what baseball does, right? You always have to adjust in baseball, no matter how good you are. And it's one of those sports, it's the only sport that even when you're doing amazing things, you always need to be making changes because everyone's going to start adjusting to where your strengths are, and that's where you start declining, and that's where everyone else starts surpassing you. So that's why in baseball, you got to always be 2 steps ahead, just like Aaron Judge and just like some of these amazing players, Freddie Freeman, who are just elite level players. They're always ahead of the curve. They're always making their adjustments, and they're always, you know, beating pitchers and just raking, you know. And so that's what we're seeing with Cal Raleigh. He's making adjustments. He's made a big one this offseason that's unlocked something for his bat, and he's an all-around the best offensive player on that team, maybe even the best player in Seattle right now.
I'd say the 2nd best offensive player in the American League right now.
That's safe to say. I mean,
as of today, like he's got a career 777 OPS hitter with a 998. He should gravitate towards the mean.
What's his OPS right now?
998.
Yeah, it's pretty high. That's 2nd best, has to be by far. I would think 3rd best is probably like Jeremy Pena.
I don't know if he's been hitting. I feel like he's been hitting a lot of singles, but I could.
He's got an APS in like the mid to high 8s. I think it's like 850, 860. I mean, we're just talking about the American League here. I don't know if anybody else is ahead of that. Not that it really matters. I don't want to get like into the whole OPSs of the American League right now. Just wanted to
Bregman, and then.
Well, he's not going to qualify. J-Ram?
J-Ram.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, J-Ram is also playing really well.
Those are the only AL guys in the top 10 of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I could roll off some NL guys. Shohei, Kyle Tucker's probably up there too.
Pete.
Who?
Alonso's having a career year.
Pete Alonso. Yeah. Pete Alonso's having a good year too. We know why he's having that career year. But anyways, let's not get into this whole OPS debate here. Yeah. Just kudos to Cal. Keep doing you, because it's a lot of fun to see. I mean, you know, as much as we're hoping Aaron Judge wins this Triple Crown, you're definitely giving a little bit of moment or a little bit of juice to him to keep hitting that ball hard, because you got someone who's now actually ahead of him. I think Judge has 26 home runs. So Raleigh at 27 now leads the American League and leads all of baseball, actually. So Judge, you got to step it up, man. I know you're slacking over here, so step it up, because Cal is ahead of you now in the home runs. I'm not
And
too
also,
worried
I
about
also
that,
love
though.
when a guy that like looks like an everyman and gives everyman vibes is like on top of the game, because I feel like that, as much as I love Aaron Judge and I love watching him play. Um, if I was a kid, like I I couldn't really resonate with being 6'7" and being a freak of nature and being like that, but Cal at like 6'2", 230, and having like an everyman face, I feel
Yeah.
like
You look like the guy who
that's
just walked down the street right here.
yeah. I didn't see, but I'll believe you on that one.
Very similar resemblance.
But I think that it's very of course people are going to want to be like Judge. He's larger than life, quite literally. But I think that that's a cool energy to give off. That um, obviously you can't teach that. It's just being coming off as a good vibe and playing the game the right way
No, I
and doing
definitely
well.
I agree with that very much. I mean, the energy is there. He sparked Seattle and their, you know, baseball, and they're striving to win that division. It's close, but I think right now they're in first, so they should, you know, make it a competitive one, with Houston still hovering around that area and trying to take back that division too. So we'll see, but he's definitely brought that energy into that clubhouse and into that city, and we hope he continues to do that. But I
And
wanted
in
to say,
Seattle, they call him the Big Dumper.
emphasis on the energy, because
Yeah,
in the next segment that we're going to get into right now, energy is the reason why this organization, or this, let's say, just call it the WNBA, is thriving for a reason. It's because of the
yeah,
energy that Caitlin Clark brings. And she is an
yeah.
absolutely special player. And I can't talk enough about her. I think what she's doing for the WNBA is more than what every single person in the WNBA has combined done so far
I
for the
think
league.
she's one person that has a weekly spot next to you if she wants it.
Caitlin Clark, let me tell you something. Caitlin Clark, if you're listening to this, I want you to understand how big of a fan I am of yours. Okay? From the start in Iowa, I knew, and probably a lot of other people did, but from the moment I saw you stepping on that Iowa court, I knew you were going to be special. I knew you were going to come into this NBA, and you weren't going to be like all these other players that they said were coming into this WNBA that are going to change the world, change the WNBA for the better. I'm not going to roll off names, because they're a bunch of great players, but you knocked it out. I mean, we've seen the difference in the stadiums, in the stands, when she's not there versus when she is there. The place is a graveyard without her. There, it looks like a rave, a full-blown rave. A rave that I would love to go to, because she lights up the arenas. People, let's say you're going to a game that they're playing in, the Fever are playing in. You're not going to watch the Fever play the Minnesota Lynx. You're there to watch Caitlin Clark do magic, because she is so elite, and she is the reason why the WNBA, when they're going to renegotiate next year, are going to get a ton more money.
Yeah.
And every single WNBA player should thank her for that.
She should be getting a Lionel Messi type deal.
She should be getting some sort of deal like that, because she's single-handedly going to bring them to, you know, relevancy, let's say. I mean, they're already there. Relevancy is there now. People are starting to put their eyes on the WNBA. But with her continuing to play the way she's playing, it's only going to grow.
And across the board, she's improved from last year besides rebounds, but that's like 0.2 per game that it's down.
We're talking about
Um,
21.3, 8.7 assists, and 5.5 rebounds, averaging
and a block
1.3
and a steal per
steals.
game.
Yeah, 1.3 steals, 1 block per game as a guard, shooting 45% from the field and 40% from three. Mind you, she's shooting the ball from 30 plus feet out every single time and hitting 40%.
Yeah.
Unheard of numbers for a second-year player. Yeah, you might have some players in the league who put up some good numbers. Asia Wilson, great player. Brittany Griner, great player. They're great players. Don't get me wrong, but what she's doing in her second season, not even halfway through her second season, it's incredible. I mean, they just beat up on and I mean, they won that game pretty comfortably. It might not have looked it on the scoreboard, but they held that lead, and especially in the second half when
You
they beat
could
the
tell they were
undefeated.
frustrated.
Yeah, when they beat the undefeated New York Liberty, and then you had a game recently where they played against the Suns, and that turned into a little bit of an aggressive match because there's a lot of frustration, I feel like, for these players because they can't stop her. They can't do anything, so they're frustrated. We actually, I think, Josh, you put up is that a clip for us? Is it a video? Is it what are we working with over here?
So it's a tweet, but there's the videos with it. So it's a response to a tweet of what happened, but I think the response is very good to talk about. And I'll once it gets up, I'll talk about it a little bit.
Well,
But
we
I was gonna
obviously know
say,
what happened with the last night's little scuffle between a couple of players. It was Sabrina. I'm sorry, Caitlin Clark, and we had. I just had her. I'm sorry. I don't want to. I don't want to. Some of these names are tough, but Marina Mabry is someone that I don't even know, right? And cause a little bit of a scuffle because there's frustration, and it's really. And here's the video that Ben was able to get for us. So we'll play it, and then Josh, you can kind of get into what you were trying to say.
yeah. So it's a clear foul. But like, so what I see from this video first, someone makes a hard foul, and I felt like she was standing her ground, and Caitlin Clark shoved her like, "Get off me." That happens in sports, and people move on. But then all of a sudden, Mabry came out of nowhere and just clocked her.
But
And Ben, if you were, oh,
if
go
you
on.
don't mind me, I also kind of just making a little analysis. I also think she was totally side blind. Like her whole
Yeah,
left side,
blindsided
she
for sure.
can't, or
Yeah.
blind side. Like she is reacting to what the foul just happened, and she's totally. But this I thought was a little
Balls at the
like.
perfect spot.
She got poked in the eye.
Yeah, she got poked in the eye, so she's focused on like holding her face and kind of
Yeah.
doing that. I know, I kind of paused that perfectly, but
And then you see Mabry kind of coming out of
yeah,
left field
look, she
over there, ready
comes
to
and
boom.
like look, you can even
it's
see
really both of them.
But yeah, both of them. But she is overstepping. Like she's
Yeah.
in Caitlin's, so she purposely
She body shot him.
body shotted her, 100%.
Laid her out, and then that actually, which they called it a, I don't know what kind of, they upgraded it to a flagrant
They
2.
didn't take her out of the game, though.
It was a
which
technical
joke.
foul, yeah, but I know, but she's gonna get fined for a flagrant 2, and maybe even suspended for a game. I'm not really sure if that's gonna
If she
stand,
got
but
hurt there, whoever that player that injured her would be out of the game. But Ben, can you put up the Jermaine Johnson tweet? That was the original
right
link?
here, yeah. This right here, right?
Yeah. So he said, "I'm a disciplined player. At least I believe I am, and I would have risked immediate ejection to protect my teammate and the brotherhood we built. You and basically, um, I have to move closer to read it. You play way harder for the man, woman next to you, knowing
Oh,
he."
technical difficulty.
What just happened?
Ben's completely. I want to tell you guys right now. Ben just completely slipped all over his keyboard right there, and that's what just happened.
Oh, jeez, hold on.
good.
Sorry, I was gonna say, Josh, I'll read it because I didn't know you couldn't.
Yeah.
Let me just read it for you guys. So
I should have had it. I should have had it up here.
it's all good. I'll read it right here. I got it. All right. So it says, "I'm a disciplined player. At least I believe I am, and I would have risked immediate ejection, retaliating to protect my teammate and the brotherhood we've built. You'll play way harder for the man next to you, knowing that she, literally fought and stood up for you. I don't believe in classless fighting during competition, but people need to understand, you go after one of us, you'll get all of us. It's important for having a championship culture, or at least I believe it is anyways."
Okay.
So one thing that really stood out to me, because I think even in the beginning of us starting this podcast, or maybe we would talk about it before, there was her teammates wouldn't really support her, and she would take some fouls, and they wouldn't like pile it on, but they wouldn't really have her back. But you could clearly see that the team is rallying together, and shout out to whoever the Fever coach is. But when you look at it, if she got hurt from that player who Mabry, we would never hear of her again. Like the league would make sure of that. Like you could think, and it's crazy. And I think that's all of these people just want us and people with TV platforms and everything to say their name make their 15 seconds of fame at the expense of someone who's just trying to hoop. Just because she's better than you doesn't mean that you have the right to do this. And for me, what I was getting into before, the initial foul, the smack in the face, the little push by Clark, fine. Like that's hard basketball. It was a chippy game. You do that and then you move on. But then, of course, getting hit in the eye, the face, whatever it exactly was, it hurts. I'm sure everyone who's watching this has been hit in the face at least once in their life, and it sucks. So when you're composing yourself and then someone blindsides you, that's just bush league. I mean, I think that's uh, this has gone far enough where I mean the league can't really do anything besides like suspend the people who were involved in standing over her and knocking her down, and but there's no reason these women shouldn't be supporting her. I mean, they don't need to when they're playing against each other, they don't need to let her score or anything like that. But to support her just means at the end of the game, you should all be dapping up. Like you look at the NFL where if you're playing against someone you respect, you ask them for their jersey after the game, and that's kind of a culture that started. Now, if something like that was an equivalent in the WNBA where people are jersey swapping or whatever sort of thing that they would do, I think that a lot of the players that come in will definitely have more respect for her and her game because the college game is also way better than most of these women played. I mean, I know there's some players that are just a couple years in, but a lot of these women they're all great basketball players. They'd all beat you and I one on one pretty handily. The point isn't me versus you. The point is without Caitlin Clark, the Stephen A. Smiths, the Beyond the Score podcasts, everything in between are not talking about the WNBA. They're talking about the league as if it should still exist. But Caitlin Clark's they needed a bigger arena to hold all the interest that Caitlin Clark balling brought, and I think that people are like it's normally when you look at issues where women aren't getting treated right, people look at something that a jerk man is doing or a group of people are doing that isn't right to women, but these women really aren't supporting each other and wanting the game to grow, or at least they're not showing it. Where in reality, if you look at the whole scope of it, if someone like Asia Wilson took a picture with Clark, did a commercial with her, made peace, you don't need to be best friends, but if she made peace, her brand would go way up. It would be not only would it be good just as a human being to I play in this league, I'm great at ball. Asia Wilson might be the only person that's better than her. Maybe there's one or two more. But I think she's better than her, and that's okay. But if you look at it that if they came together and she got Asia Wilson's respect, that none of this stuff would happen anymore. And then Asia's brand would jump, Caitlin Clark's brand, obviously, maybe all the people who stand Angel Reese for whatever reason would see that Asia Wilson is supporting her, and maybe it's something that enough is enough, you know?
Listen, competition's always good. There's always going to be rivalries, even in the WNBA. But we're talking about even like Asia Wilson. She's a two-time WNBA MVP, right? And maybe the only player that is actually right today better than her.
Yeah.
But for them to acknowledge that the greatness that she's bringing, not only on the court but off the court, is going to be better for the whole entire WNBA as a whole, they're going to be better off. Because what have women been fighting for from the start is equal pay, equal opportunity in the sporting world. Caitlin Clark is bringing that. But it seems like the rest of the league are maybe a little jealous of how good she is, and it's the reason why they're not able to grow at a rate that they should be growing, honestly. You know? And it's sad to say, because now when people are starting to acknowledge the greatness of her and wanting to actually watch the WNBA, they're not getting the best version of it because the players are not doing what's best for the league and even for themselves. I mean, they don't realize that, but this affects them as well, because there's going to be a new brand deal that's going to be signed. There's going to be a new CBA that's going to be signed. The players are going to start getting a lot more money, and the easier they make this, the more likelihood that they're going to be able to cash in bigger in the off season when all these things are dealt with. So You know,
And
you
when that
hope to
money
see.
when that money comes in, the corporate executives are going to say, who's that girl that's injuring our golden ticket?
She's
Like
basically
they're
like the Michael Jordan of the WNBA,
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, they'll
which is
look
a
at this
crazy
video
thing
and
to say, but it's
they'll
the
look at this
truth.
video and they'll say there's no reason that person should be in the league. We're paying for this league as a whole, and clearly it's something that it's nipping itself in the butt, and that's not something that we want to support. And it could make it when the deal comes around, it could make the deal one time thing if people continue to do this, because if something like this happens and Caitlin Clark gets blindsided and she hits her head on the floor and she misses 2 months, that's going to be a huge loss of money for those investing in the league. But at the same time, we were at Krause's gender reveal last week, and we saw that the Liberty and the Fever game was on TV, and I didn't even blink an eye. It's something. The WNBA is in the sports world now, but when you see Indiana, it makes you stop and want to watch a little bit. And the Liberty are nice like that too, so it was a really
They
good one.
were
But
undefeated.
yeah, and I'm pretty sure they lost by double digits. But the fact of the matter is just the support. The support needs to be there.
Well said. You know, the WNBA is growing. Caitlin Clark's the reason for this. You know, there's other great players there. No questions asked, but she's going to take them to the promised land. So we love you,
As long as
Caitlin.
they
Keep
let her.
doing
As
keep
long
doing
as
your
they let her.
thing. Keep balling out there, because whatever you're doing, it's shining, and everyone's loving to see what you're doing out there. Thank you guys very much. I wanted to thank some new followers of ours. We got some new
Yeah.
people starting to tune into us. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to be live every single Friday. We go live at 4 p.m. And we obviously are going to be posting a lot on social media, so you'll be able to catch some glimpses and things like that. I'm Harry. That's Josh. We're here. We like to be told we're crazy. So if you think that we're crazy, you let us know in the comments. Say, Harry and Josh, that might have been the craziest thing I've ever heard anybody say in sports. How could you say something like that? And we'll let you know, because we read all our comments. We like to get back to every single person that interacts with us. That's what we do here at the Beyond the Score podcast. We want to give you guys the closest feel to interacting with people who talk about sports on a day-to-day basis, basically. So keep plugging away over there. Keep commenting away, letting us know if you have any questions, anything that you want to see differently, anything you want us to try out. We're open to it. Message us, comment away, whatever you guys want to do. We're here for it. Josh, you let them know where they could find us.
Yeah, so you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Playlist, and Instagram, where some of you guys found us. And uh, we appreciate the continued support from those who've been with us from the beginning. And we welcome all of the new followers in, and hope to keep you around for a while, and just stick with this show as we talk ball and get some guests on.
Let's not forget our favorite part of the show, and it's the best part of the show. And for all you new viewers over there, you'll start learning about our yogiisms. We give out a yogiism at the end of every single episode. This week's yogiism, Josh, I want you to rate it. I wish I had an answer to that, because I'm tired of answering that question.
Wait, what?
You need me to repeat it?
No. Those are the nines that make me go, wait, what? Those are the nines.
Yogi, baby. He was great, and he said some great things. That
The
was
fact that
one
he
of
has
them.
so many is a testament to
It's an encyclopedia. You could make a book on it.
Yogi
All the
Berra
yogi,
legacy.
all the yogiisms out there. You can make a full-blown encyclopedia on just yogiisms. But thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of Beyond the Score podcast. We look forward to seeing you guys next week, and we'll bring you guys some new stuff to uncover. Ben, you giggling over there? I heard that. What was so
I think
funny?
it's because he sniped me drinking my water.
Oh, that's what it was.
That's what it was.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
that's what we do over here at the Beyond the Score podcast. We're a bit, silly.